All right, so we are good to go. So this is chapter 4 and chapter 24, roughly. Um, so let's just dive right into this. So not all the Windows computers are going to be built alike, obviously. Some have touch, some do not. And I don't know about you guys, but if you've used a touch laptop before, you kind of get used to it, and it's really quite nice. All right, I haven't had a touch desktop before that I've actually constantly used the touch option, like don't touching it. Just to me, it's a little too big of a screen. I don't know if it's too far away or what. But then my touch work laptop, oh, that is so nice. Even using it in normal laptop mode, instead of using the touch bar, the trackpad, that one, to scroll around, it's so much nicer just to poke at the screen with what you're trying to do. So personally, I'm a big fan of that, but to each their own. But there are lots of different options there, and the main one that I wanted to quick point out is touch and hold. All right, since there's no way to right click on a touch screen, right? You tap or double tap, but there's no good way to do that. So they went up with touch and hold. So if you want to right click on something, first you're going to tap, leave your finger on there, hold, and then that will be kind of your go-to system. All right. Now, let us go ahead and flip over to the desktop. Hold on one sec. All right, and we are back with my desktop being up. All right, so touch options. That was kind of a quick one. Now, I think I talked about this last class, but one of the wonderful things that we can do with Windows 10 is snapping. All right, and again, on a laptop screen, snapping not the best thing in the world. I feel like it's a little bit too small in my opinion. But when you start getting to larger screens, I think I said I have like a 27-inch, I believe is what I have at home. Man, I do snapping all the time. And yeah, what is snapping? Snapping is taking your window that you're looking for and making it click into a certain section. So in theory, maximizing is kind of like a snapping option, right? It takes that window and it makes it the whole screen size. All right. Now, Windows has overall gotten a little better than this. You can snap to the right, you can snap to the left, you can snap to the top left, the bottom left, the bottom right, and top left, right? Sorry. So you kind of have a whole bunch of different options there. And again, for me with my 27, 29-inch, whatever size this monitor is, it's really useful to be able to do because, you can have two different documents right next to each other, and it's really still quite usable for me, all right? I can scroll out my Word file slightly, and I can still, I personally can still read the size 11 font, and I can see the whole document overall. All right, so I find this to be really useful. The little quarters, if I go top right and bottom, let's go ahead and bring up pictures. I don't find that as useful. Now maybe this is when I get rid of that little ribbon bar at the top, and that becomes a bit more useful. But still, it's just a little too small. There's not quite enough information there. And this is one of those reasons why I have two screens at home. Is because I like to have all of the real estate that I can for doing things. So if I really wanted to have all three of these open, I'd just throw one on my secondary screen, one on the right, one on the left, and man, I can just bounce back and forth really quickly in between things. And it just makes my life so much easier. So snapping is a very powerful tool. How I was doing that in the beginning, so you can just click and drag. Let me minimize this. And when I drag it, you'll see like a little box appear, and hopefully you can see that on the screen. It's kind of a little slightly different color, a little whiter or something, and then you can see kind of an outline of a rectangle, and that shows you where the screen's gonna snap. And it used to be with Windows even 7, you couldn't snap between your monitors. So I couldn't do this. I couldn't snap it to this position because it was like, oh, your desktop continues to the next monitor. So it wouldn't let me do that. The fact that Windows 10 allows you to do that is really awesome. So you can snap in all of those different quadrants. If you want to do a little keyboard shortcut for this, it's Windows and then an arrow key. So select whatever it is you want to do, hold Windows and hit the arrow key. And you can kind of pick where you want. Oh, and just down minimizes. That's kind of nice. So to the right, up, down, down again makes it go away. So snapping, really quite powerful and very useful tool overall for this. Now let us go ahead and dive into the start menu. All right, now this is when it gets a little annoying because there's not much I can do about this. Actually, hold on one second. All right, and we're back and we're zoomed in on my start menu. All right, so you guys should be able to see that nice and clear right now. So let me go ahead and pull my notes back up. So, the start menu, we've kind of briefly went over this. We've got tiles over here on the right, we've got our applications on the left, and we have some other shortcut items over here for power, settings, pictures, files, or documents, and then my picture of me. All right, so my user information, so account settings and whatnot. But anyway, so start menu. First, pinning. So as you can see, I have a lot of apps pinned here, and these are things that I use on a consistent basis. Well, pseudo-consistent basis anyway. All right, I've got my CAD-related stuff, so I've got 3D and 2D and 3D printing software, as well as nesting for the laser cutter. If you haven't noticed, there's a 3D printer right here behind me on my left, and then there's a laser cutter over here on my right. So I got some fun tools to play with at home. But anyway, so I've got all my CAD-related stuff for when I'm building things. We've got, this is kind of my go-to, I didn't know what else to put things. So I've got all different web browsers, so Chrome, Firefox, and Edge. I also have my photos link and my music. I have everything related for class right here. So I have my test making stuff, video editing, or screen recording. This is what I used before. I was using OBS for screen capture. I've got some stuff for my PLC classes. I've got my Zoom link. Got this, which actually I'm not using anymore, but it's for using your Android phone as a web camera. For those who don't know, you can do that with some software, so that's pretty nice. I've got my coding stuff. I've got another section here. I've got office things at the bottom. So all stuff that I'm using on a overall somewhat regular basis, and I'd say at least once a week I'm coming to at least one of the items in each of these different sections. All right. Now, as you notice, some of these do have little names at the top. So I have CAD, coding, HCC class stuff. All right. So all these are different groups. Now, so as you can see here, I can actually move a whole group around very easy just by dragging it. So let's say, which Epic Pen really doesn't belong in this section. It's probably more class stuff. But let's say I want a new group. So you can kind of see how you can just drag this around and drop it. And you can actually, snap every half a tile or so. You can also resize it. So you can make it go small if you really only wanted a little itty bitty thing. I like having the names with all of my icons. I like not having to rely on remembering what the icon looks like. In theory, all of these things, again, are stuff that I use frequently enough, so it wouldn't be a huge problem if I just had the icons, but it's still nice for me, in my opinion, to be able to see the name. So, and pictures, we can actually probably make that one. Oh man, we can make that wide. So you can change this now. You have more resizing options there, so just kind of a fun little side fact. But anyway, so we have different groups here. So if I were to drive Epic Pen down here, you see how kind of like a little blue rectangular box shows up? Basically, that has just become a new group. All right. So groups, we can move around, we can make things. So I like to do that. It makes life a little bit easier. You can, let me bring OBS up for a second. You can actually make this wider. So there's, maybe go wide enough. There we go. So now I have 3 columns wide, but you guys can only see half of it. So you could go as wide as your screen, or at least most of your screen. Personally, I think that is plenty wide for me. I can do a little bit of scrolling if I need to. So we got some nice little customizations there. So grouping items makes life a little bit easier. Live tiles we did talk about last class or last video. So the only live tile I have here is my photos one, and this is more of a modern app. It's a Windows thing. So all of these are going to be what's called overall classic desktop apps. This is my only modern app overall that supports the live tiles. I think there's a weather option. So let's go ahead and let's just pin that to my start menu. Here we go. Give that its own group. Oh, that one. Let's go large. Maybe I have to open it first and actually set it up. To see local weather, update your settings. Yeah, that's close enough. Dismiss. Is that going to show up now? Nope. Still not giving me the live tile option. That's alright. Anyway, there are other live tile options out there. But if you want to disable it, like you really don't want my pictures, circling here because of, well, I'm recording things and you guys don't need to see my pictures, I could right click on this. Under more, you have turn live tile off, and then you have some other app settings and things like that. So if I just did this, it just becomes a boring old tile. So to each their own. If you like the live tiles, great, let them happen. If you don't, don't use them or disable them. All right, pinning things here. All right, so I think we talked about this last class, but you know, if you need to pin something here, so go ahead. So Epic Pen, right? It's one I started using for class so I could actually draw on my screen so you guys can see what's going on. So if I go ahead and type in Epic Pen, because I don't actually know where it's stored, I can right click on it and I have the options, two options, one for Start, one for Taskbar. So Start obviously is going to be the screen we're just on. Taskbar is going to be across the bottom of our main desktop. So depending on where you want to put it, you can click on that. Now, it does put it, I don't know how it decides where it's going to put it, but it does put it in some random locations, so you can just drag this and put it wherever it is that you like. All right. Now, one other really useful thing that Windows 10 has allowed is what they're calling jump lists. All right. So if you right-click on some of these, which Firefox actually does, gives me my frequently accessed locations. Same thing with Edge, probably. It's Chrome. Oh, Chrome even does it. That's pretty nice. Most visited, recently closed, tasks. So those are some nice options. So that's what a jump list is. So it allows you to have some recent files or websites or things along those lines. So it's really quite a useful feature. And inside of those, notice if we actually hover our mouse over one of these, so the D2L login, I'm going to pin that so I can always keep it there. So when I go to Chrome, I can right click and go bam, and it takes me right to the D2L login page, which I've already been logged in on, so that's why I didn't actually go there. It took me kind of the home page instead. So we can actually pin things to our jump list. So kind of a nice useful feature there to save yourself just, again, a little bit of time. Does it take that much longer for me to open Chrome, then go HCC, and then D2L? No, it really doesn't. But it saves you a few clicks, and a lot of people, they're all about saving clicks. So a little bit of each their own, and it really all comes down to what your personal preference is. Now, let us go ahead and move on to the taskbar at the bottom of the screen. I can draw for this one, so let's go and turn an Epic Pen on. All right, so back again to the bottom of the screen. So we've already talked about the different shortcut icons down here, all right? And we've talked about how some of them are pinned. So again, if we notice any of these that don't have a little white line underneath them, those are pinned there. All right, some of the ones that do have the white lines aren't necessarily pinned. Again, I believe that is my cutoff point for what is and isn't pinned. So everything to the left is pinned, and I say, oh, I actually use this kind of frequency, and everything to the right is not pinned. And again, same process as pinning something to the start menu. You're just going to say, oh, let's add Epic Pen. Well, that's a bad one. What do I don't have? A PowerPoint. Let's go ahead and more pin to taskbar. Boom, shows up right there at the end. Now, as I close things, this would move back to the left. As I would open them back up, let me go ahead and close settings out here. Notice that moves to the right, and if I open my taskbar settings back up, it opens on the far right side. So traditionally, all of your pinned items are on the far left. Just something to be aware of. Now, something that I actually recently learned, which I find to be really neat, is you can use shortcuts to open up these items on the bottom here. So if we start here, right just past the task view, all right, we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I have 11 different items. Well, 11, too many. I can't open PowerPoint. But anyway, if you just hold the Windows button, you can open these files down here. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4. So we're going to open Putty here, which is number 5. Now you can't use your number pad. You have to use the numbers across the top of your keyboard. But if I hold Windows and I hit 5, Putty opens. So it's, again, one of those what I'm going to call power user things. Something that you're probably not going to use super often unless you are constantly always have your hands on the keyboard. All right, and even then, I guess that's not too bad. Snipping tool, Notepad or Outlook, Notepad. So it's really not that bad. So it's really a nice little shortcut there. Now again, we can't open. So if I do 0, it takes me to Epic Pen, which is already open. Here, let's get me close. Oh, there we go. So now if I do 0, PowerPoint's going to open. So you can have up to 10 shortcuts, and this is why it's very important to have only what's really important for you down here if you want to do that. Alright, so we have talked briefly about the notification area down here in the bottom right-hand corner. Alright, and you can do all sorts of wonderful things with that. So if we go ahead and look at that again, I have all sorts of items in here that are notifications. In fact, that's 4 by 4. So there's 16 in there plus another 2 outside of it. So I have 18 different notification icons that are running right now. If we go ahead into the taskbar settings and we scroll down to notification area, let me go ahead and circle that. Come on, there we go. Whoop. All right, you can select which icons are actually going to appear inside your notification area. And this does take a second to load. Now, if you want to go back to the old school way from like XP, I believe it was, you can click this and it will just show you all of the different notification icons. There's a lot of them there. And that takes up a lot of my screen real estate. I'm not a big fan of having so much space being missing. So not going to be the option that I go with. Now, we can add and remove some things from this. So like the Logitech G Hub right now, which is my configuration for my mouse. So you can see the little G right here. Sometimes I go back and forth on having this one there. So maybe I'll leave it on, maybe I'll leave it off. But anyway, if I turn that off, boom, that little G disappears. So you can go through and pick what you want. Now, for a desktop computer, I don't really care about a lot. All right, I'm not moving around, I'm not changing things often. So my notifications that I'm using all the time is very limited. And you'll notice the only one I traditionally keep up, wrong pen, is the speaker button. All right. And that's because it's nice to be able to click there and change volume, pick which microphone's being used, what speaker's output, if I have headphones or something else plugged in. So speaker is all I really care about. On my laptops, when I'm using those, I have a few more icons. I have power management, so I can see the life of my battery and how that's doing, and which is extremely important to me on a laptop. And the other one that I normally have on a laptop open up is, is this wonderful one right here, the network. I didn't realize I went to a supersized ball. The network, there we go. Now again, on a desktop, I'm hardwired into Ethernet, so I'm not worried about wireless and whatnot. I actually do have a wireless card in this computer, so if I click on my network settings, you can see I can connect to some different options. But I'm not really that worried about it, especially since none of those wirelesses are actually mine. So not something that I need to worry about. But anyway, so network, not something that I normally keep on my desktop because I have an Ethernet cable plugged in. I know there's going to be network as long as the router is running. If the router's not running, I don't have internet at all, period, so it's not really a problem. So network I don't normally leave on. Most of these, obviously, if you look at my list, they are basically all off. All right, so nothing that I really care about seeing all of the time on my computer. So now the other option is you can see under notification, turn system icons on or off. All right. So, here's the power. Notice I can't actually turn the power icon notification on or off. All right. It is not an option for me. At the same point, I don't actually need it because I don't have a battery in this. So there's no real options here. Basically, my computer is running on high performance all the time. And I do put my computer to sleep when we're not using it. Another icon here you could turn on is touchpad, maybe, if that's important to you. Touch keyboard, that one could be great. So we got a little keyboard icon down here. When I click on that, I now have somewhere I can poke at numbers on the screen if that's important to you. And again, on a touch-enabled device, probably useful, especially if you have a detachable keyboard or a keyboard that spins around in the back if you don't want to use it. So the action center, little right here for our notifications. Input indicator, again, I don't have that on. Let me turn my touch keyboard off. Clock, I do like the clock. I was a big fan of that one. Volume, as I said. So kind of, to each your own. And that's kind of the wonderful and pain thing about Windows is you can customize it to your liking. So take it as you are, turn what you want on and off. I'm going to actually go back into this, and I'm going to turn back on the G Hub if I can find it, and we'll see how I like that. Now the other thing we can have on our taskbar are different toolbars. So if you right click on your taskbar, you go up to toolbars, we have some different options. So we have address, it's just a place, and actually I think you can type in something and type enter, and it opens File Explorer to that location. So let's say if I type in recycle bin, boom, again opened it in my other screen, but there you go, my recycle bin popped up. So if you're often going to certain locations, and now those are the top 2 on my list because I just used them, if I do documents, now that's going to move to the top. So you can see this is kind of your recent locations that you've gone to some extent. So very powerful tool to have. You can make it bigger if you want. But again, to me, it takes up a bit too much space. So I'm not going to leave that one on. I'd rather just have File Explorer, shortcut, and then have my quick access over here on the left. Personal opinion. Now, another toolbar I actually might use is the desktop one. So if we look at this, we got a little double arrow right here. Oh, let me go back to this. Got the little double arrow. Man, I stink at circling things. Whoop. There we go. Just barely got that time. All right, so if we click on that little double arrow, it will bring up a list of everything that is on my desktop. So if we look over here, desktop, we look over there, everything does match up. Now it's not in the same order, so that is something to be aware of. It seems like it does some control panel slash, data hard drives and drives and things like that at the top. Then it goes into some programs, then it goes into folders, and then it goes into more programs. And from what I can tell, the top programs are the ones that are going to be on all new users. So if you were to create a new user on my computer, it would have a shortcut for all of those already on it. And then these down here are ones that are specific to my user. So a little bit of give and take there. Kind of a pain in the butt, but that's just the way the game works. It'd be nice if they just kind of mold them all together, or if you could right click on that and have some options. Oh wait, we do have some. So we can do small, large icons. View. Turn off. View. Come on. Let's turn that back up. Show title. Okay, so that gets rid of that. So you have some options if you right click on this. Alright, so you do have some options there for view, large, small. I'm going to close it. I don't really want that. Alright. You can make a custom toolbar for a specific folder. So let me go ahead and just throw my classes one down there. Alright, and again, it's got the little double arrow, so I can open that up and I can see all of my different folders and files that are in that folder right off the bat. So again, if I often need to go to like my CSC class or my IST class, I could just click on it and I could open up those files. This kind of feels a little Mac-esque to me. I don't know about you. Don't use Mac all that often, so I don't have a great experience or understanding of it, but it kind of feels a little Mac-y to me. So my own personal preference though. So nice little shortcut option there. And again, you have open folder if you right click on it, some different view options, show title, show text, but again, I'm not going to leave that one enabled. And you also, as we've talked, we have we have the Cortana. So if you want to change the search bar here to just the Cortana little icon, we can get rid of it. If we don't want the little notification symbol here for the task view, task view is this one over here. Task view is the one just to the left of everything. The people, I don't have any contacts on this computer, so people don't make any sense. If you've logged in with your Microsoft account, have contacts in there, that would be nice. Inkscape, which I actually do have enabled right now. Well, if I click on that, it brings up this custom one. So we have sticky notes, so we can, I don't want to sign in. There we go. All right, and if I can close out of this. I can leave my sticky note open. If you do have a touch input, you could draw, I believe, on this, or you can just, write little notes to yourself. Again, if I close it, close notes available anytime in the list view. So you're like, okay, it's right there. So you could always bring your sticky notes back up and get open the one that you care about. Just kind of weird how it opens. Not a big fan of that, but that's okay. But then you have the Sketchpad or Screen Sketch. That one actually, again, is very useful if you do have a touch input, because you can capture your screen, you can draw on it, you can circle it, you can erase things, put a ruler up at certain angles, and all sorts of other fun stuff. So that, again, if you have a touch input with Inkscape, it makes a lot of sense. For my purpose, I don't really see myself using that all that much. So that is that. Now, let us go ahead and explore File Explorer some. So give me a second to get a new screen set up. All right, and we're back. So here we have File Explorer. Should be nice and big for you guys. I'm just zoomed in on part of my screen to kind of compact everything, make it a little bit easier for you to see. So we talked a bit about File Explorer last class. We have the ribbon bar at the top. All right, and there are all sorts of things that we can do in here. So first, I like to point out is the quick access. And Word also has this, and PowerPoint, most of the Microsoft apps have this. So at this very top here, we have a little quick access section. So not counting this symbol, that is File Explorer itself. All right. I guess if you double click on that, it closes. It's kind of interesting. But then right next to it, we have a Properties button and a New Folder button. So if I actually go somewhere where I have some documents, just go to Documents, I click on Adobe and I hit Properties, it brings up this. You could also get there by right-clicking and then saying Properties. So it's actually a nice little shortcut button to have right there. Not the easiest to get to, or not the easiest to click on. I find it to be a little on the small side, but you know, to each their own. And then you also have a New Folder button, which I find to be useful. So you can just do a new folder with a click of a button, and you could call it whatever you want. And again, you could right-click and say New Folder. Once that comes up, where that should be here somewhere. Oh, no. Wow, actually I don't see the new folder here. Probably on here and I'm just missing it. There it is. Open a new window. Anyway, it's because I'm clicked on something, isn't it? It's hard not to be selected on something in this view, but that's okay. So you could right click and say new folder. Also on the home tab. Alright, let me go ahead and get rid of that. So on the home tab, if you have that open, or if you got it minimized, you click on it once, there's a new folder button as well as a properties button. So those both do exist on the home tab. But if you're one of those people, again, who have a laptop and you don't have the ribbon showing all the time, those might be some very nice shortcuts to have. You can also add your own. Let me move this back into the corner. Didn't mean to move that. You can add your own by clicking that little drop down arrow that's right there. So if I click on that, you have rename, delete, undo, whatever. So you have some other options, and we can say show below the ribbon if you want to. All right, I like it above better. It's definitely my kind of where I'd put it. So you do have some quick access there. So, pick your own. File extensions. Now, as you can see on my computer, if we look closely, you can see all of the different file extensions that are on my computer. And if you look at your computer, and if you haven't messed with things yet, you probably can't. Now, for a normal person who just does Word documents, those types of things, not being able to see the file type, not a big deal. All right. However, as an IT person, you probably are going to want to be able to see those file types because that can matter for a lot of things. So seeing those file type or extensions is going to be very useful for you. Now, by viewing them, by having them there, if I come through, I can go through here now. I can go, okay, if I rename this, I can delete the file extension, which is why they don't suggest it. Now, by default, if you notice, it only has the file name type. So if I go ahead and I type something, it only changes the file name. But I could come in here and I could change this to text, TXT. Now, Windows is going to warn you, hey, might be unusable if you change your file extension. I'm going to say yes anyway. And because this is an SVG file, there's actually a lot of information there. So it is actually overall text, which I always find interesting. So I could open this up as a text editor, and notice I have all these different paths with stroke widths, and then it has distance and angles and locations, and I don't actually know what all this stuff specifically is. But, an SVG file is just text, and the glorious part about SVG is you can scale them. So you can go from 1-inch little circle to 1,000-meter circle, and it will still be a nice, perfectly crisp line, unlike a picture if you try to scale that big. So anyway, we want to be able to see these extensions. So if we go to the View tab on the ribbon, I'm going to pin that up there. All right, probably the most changed ones are these right here. All right, so we have file name extensions checkbox. So if I were to uncheck that, you will see all those extensions just disappear. All right. We also have my hidden files I do have showing. Now, that's not going to be obvious in this folder, but here you can see. All right. Again, if you look closely at that, you'll notice it's a slightly different color. This one's a slightly different color. It doesn't look like I have other options there, or they're hidden. Oh, no, that's not. But anyway, if I uncheck hidden in files, those two folders are going to disappear. All right, and I like to be able to see those. Every once in a while, I have to go to a hidden folder. So for me personally, I want them there. And again, as an IT person, you're probably going to want to be able to see those hidden files. Let's go ahead and go back to documents so I don't screw up anything important. So item checkboxes. Maybe that's something you want to enable. All right, if you notice in the top left-hand corner, we have little checkboxes now so that you can add more things by clicking those checkboxes. And on a PC, on a non-touch enabled device, I don't really find that to be useful because I can just hold control and select whatever boxes I want, and I don't have to be, ooh, cancel. Yeah, let's get rid of those. I just did a whole bunch of copies. That's wonderful. Anyway, I can just hold control and I can just change things as I seem fit. And it's much easier for me to not have to click very specifically on a file. You know, that have them click on that little checkbox. Now again, on a touch enabled device where you can't hold control because there is no control button for you to hold, those checkboxes become very important. So that is something that I like to look at. Now, downloads is a great example case for this other thing that I find important. This current view. Now we have sort by, I have group by. If we go, none, there we go. So if we don't have anything grouped, it just does alphabet. So it just shows you folders and then it does everything after that. And you can change that by doing date or type or whatever it is. Now, for my downloads specifically, the group by I love because it makes it very obvious when I downloaded the file. All right. Yes, I see my date modified here. And if I know something's from a specific date, I could do date modified and I could come up here and look and go, okay, 222. Oh, there's something from the first. However, if I do group by and I do date modified, it puts nice little headings on it. You can minimize those headings so you're not seeing everything. Now, it doesn't do it every day. So you can see we have today, yesterday, earlier this week, last week, earlier this year. All right, so it does kind of have like specific date groups that it makes. We could say group by type. Now, if I sort by type, you can see, well, let's go that way. So you can see Adobe Acrobat and then Illustrator, Applications, AutoCAD. So that group by I find to be very, very useful. But for my downloads, I always do date modified and I sort by date modified. And I find that to be the most useful way for my downloads folder. It just makes finding those files that you've downloaded a lot easier. Your layout, I think we talked about that last class. Now, the other thing I want to go into is the options. Now, this options, especially the view, you'll notice our current view and our show hide, there's not a lot there. If you go into view, there are a lot of options in here, all right? So you could say, always show icons, never thumbnails, all right? Now, I don't have any thumbnails showing. If I go to my pictures folder, let's go ahead to that one. Just go into one. See how it shows me all the little pictures. Now, this isn't bad. I've got a pretty good computer. It popped all those pictures up pretty quickly. If you don't have a great computer, that may take a while to load. So you may only want to say, show me the file names or the icons. Don't show me the pictures. Then if I click on one and I have my preview window open, oh, it still only shows me the icon. That's kind of annoying. Anyway, that might be what you like. I like to see my thumbnails when possible. You have always show menus. So look, here we have the hidden files and folders that we have that checkbox in the main screen for. We have the hide extension for known. It's kind of different. So we have file name extension as a checkbox, and here it's unchecked. Backwards, right? You think they'd have them both be the same way, but one is saying hide it, one's saying show it. So that's why the checkbox is inversed. And if I actually click this and I hit apply, you should notice that check mark on the screen right there, unchecked. I like to see my extensions, so I'm gonna check that again, or uncheck it, depending on where you look. Hide folder, merge conflicts, basically what you need to do is you need to come through here and read it and go, oh, let me try that, or let me change this. There's so many different configuration options, and what you like versus what I like versus everybody else in class likes is not always going to be the same. All right, so you need to go through and pick your battles and find what you like, what you don't like, and go from there. It really all comes down to that. So Windows 10 has all these customizations. Do what you want. Find it what you like. What makes you happy, all right? And find what's going to make your life easier to do your work. That is probably one of the big things, right? If it's making your life happier, better, easier, you're going to enjoy it. If it's annoying you, you're going to hate it, all right? Which is why many of you might not even thought about showing the file extensions. You're like, no, that's not actually important to me. Or you're like, man, I wish I could see those. You just didn't know how to do it, all right? So as we go through this class, you should probably going to be constantly customizing Windows 10. You're going to be adding shortcuts. You're going to be tweaking things. You're going to be like, oh, I wish I could do this. And if you have one of those like, oh, I wish I could do this moments, send me an email. All right. Maybe we'll create a discussion thread for how to do something in Windows 10. All right. If it's like, I don't know how to do this. Does anyone have any ideas on how to do this? Maybe we'll do that and see how that works. All right. I'll go through and create a discussion thread for that. But anyway, so Windows 10, it's all about what you like, how do you do it, and can you do it? And I am all about you guys finding out how to do those things and making it to fit your life. That's what really matters here. So with that, we will end this wonderful video.